Hi everyone, welcome back to the Zhang Financial Podcast. My name is Patrick, I'm the executive producer here at the show, and what you're about to hear is a conversation with myself, Charles and Lynn, as well as Congressman Shri Thanedar, who represents the 13th District of Michigan and the U.S. House of Representatives. In this episode, we dive a little deeper into Congressman Thanedar's journey, from being a successful entrepreneur to now being in the House of Representatives. As well, we take a look at some of his current initiatives and how they're reflective of that pursuit of the American dream. Without further ado, here is that episode.
So, I think first of all, Congressman, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule. I'm sure it is crazy nowadays in Washington, as it's always crazy, but especially now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. This week has been really hectic because of, as you know, the two parties are in Washington, D.C., negotiating, working on making sure we pass the federal budget so we won't have to shut down the government.
Right, I know. That's why we deeply appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be with us today. So are we making, you don't have to tell us any confidential information, but are we making any progress?
Yeah, this has been hectic, and I think the other side wanted to prove some points or make some points, but all of that delayed getting a budget in place, and we were fast approaching the September 30th deadline to get something done. And the problem here is that, a lot of people depend on federal benefits. We have, thousands, hundreds of thousands of federal workers in the state of Michigan who now have to work without pay. We have federal, national security issues like the Coast Guard. So all of that needs to happen. So it was exciting.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm sure it's really hectic.
Right.
So to start our Patrick, you want to start with introduction or anything?
Yeah.
We get into the questions.
I was gonna hop into the conversation. That was a great start, just to see the dedication that our the members of our public service within the United States being so dedicated and trying to work through issues like this is definitely very inspiring. So thank you again for joining us and fitting us within your busy schedule, Congressman Shri. I guess to kick off the conversation, of course, getting to see you, how active you are on social media and informing us about some of the things you're working on at Washington. I was hoping to ask you what got you started within public service, from the $20 that you had in your pocket when you first arrived within the United States to now representing the 13th District of Michigan?
Well, I'm an immigrant. I grew up in southern India. My father worked as a clerk in a court system, a government job he had. And I have 6 sisters, a brother. And when he lost his job, my family fell into hardship. We had a little 1-bedroom apartment, no running water. And we slept on the floor, we ate on the floor. And real hardship. Tough times those days. And I worked as a janitor, cleaning offices while I was going to school, going to college. And I'll use that money to supplement my family's income. So real tough time, healthcare, taking care of my parents' health, just education, everything was hard. And at some point, I felt that if I could come to America, I had heard so much about United States. if I could come to America, a land of opportunities, and this will help me lift my family out of poverty. And this is back in 1979. Jimmy Carter, time when Jimmy Carter was president, the Iran hostage crisis, if you might remember or might know about. So I applied for a PhD program. You know, I had a bachelor's and a master's degree in chemistry, and I applied for a PhD program in the United States, and fortunately I got admission at the University of Akron in Ohio. And so I was excited, and all I needed to do was go to the American consulate in Mumbai. And in those days, you have to stand in line, no appointments, or you have to stand in line. And so the earlier you get in line, the more likely you would be interviewed. And they will only interview so many people every day. So I go there and I stand in this outside the building in a long line of people at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
You know, I was all stressed the whole night because this visa meant so much to me.
Right.
So I go there and I'm standing in this line, and at 11 o'clock I get called, and I have this American counselor. Her name is Virginia. And so Virginia is right behind the window. She's behind the window. I'm in front, standing there. She's asking me questions, you know. And I didn't really speak all that good English, but I did my best to answer her questions. And after about 10 minutes of interview, she put a stamp on my papers, signed it. And she pushed those papers out of the window towards me, and she says, Mr. Thanedar, I'm not convinced you should get a visa to America, so I'm denying your application for visa.
No kidding. Huh.
And that just, you know, broke my heart. And never before I had lost consciousness, but that day I fainted and I fell down to the ground. And I don't know how long I was on the ground, lost consciousness. But when I opened my eyes and looked up, I saw Virginia had come out of her window and she was standing right next to me with a glass of water, but no visa. And there I am, really heartbroken. So I go back and I learned that I can give them more information. So next time I reapply about a week later. Now, no interview, you just give the papers in the window and they say, come back at 4 o'clock and we'll let you know. So I go there at 4, I see the same stamp, visa rejected. So third time I give them more papers, more evidence why I should be given a visa. That day, she promptly denies my visa for the third time. So I write to my professor and say, I'm not able to get a visa. Can you help me? So he writes a beautiful letter. He says, I need this scientist in my lab because we are working on the future. We are working on electric batteries, and I need this person. So I thought that letter would help me get a visa. So I put that letter on top of my stack of papers, and I submit it again to the American embassy. I go with a lot of hope that night. You know, and at 4 o'clock, I go there and they tell me she denied my visa for the 4th time. And I'm now unemployed. I have no job and I'm doing private tutoring. And about a month goes by and I have nothing new to give, but I'm looking at these papers and I said, I'm going to try one more time. So I take the same old papers that she rejected, resubmitted it. So they said, come back at 4. So I go at 4. They say, give me your passport. So I said, why do you need my passport? And they say, we can't give you a visa if you don't give us a passport. And so I said, what? Miss Virginia changed your mind? And they said, no, she's gone to America for vacation.
Good thing Virginia is gone.
Another counselor looked at your papers and he thought they were good. So from that experience of having lost, the struggle with the visa system, the immigration system, today, interestingly, as the United States Congressman, I am a member of the Homeland Security. and I'm a ranking member of Transportation and Maritime Security.
Wow.
And now my committee decides how best to protect America's borders and who comes into America and who doesn't.
That's a really,
what a story. You know what, Congressman, I don't blame you, because at the first when you said, I went there and this woman name is Virginia, I'm like, wow, what a memory. I mean, from family, because I certainly did not don't remember the person who gave me my visa. I'm like, oh, he still remember the person who gave him visa. But now I understand, if somebody reject me 4 times, I would remember the name of that person too. So, but it's interesting, right? I'm glad that you are on that committee nowadays to make some sensible policies, because from your background, why would she think a person who graduated from college at the age of 18 is not qualified and not good enough to get a visa to the United States?
Right.
Yes.
You know?
Right. And our immigration system is broken. The visa system, the country quotas, and we have a lot of very, very talented people who have come to United States, gotten good education, and they want to stay here and contribute. Also, the technology companies, Google and, all kinds of technology companies wants these skilled people to stay in America. Having these skilled engineers, scientists to stay in America would help America, keep its edge on innovation and discoveries and entrepreneurship. So it is very important that we keep these highly skilled people, and yet our visa system, our green card process is so slow. And it is so difficult and it is so stressful on families that many of these skilled people are now going to Australia. And some of them are going to Canada, because Canada has realized that America has a broken immigration system. So they're trying to take advantage and attract these very, very talented people to Canada and to Australia. Now, look, innovation is so important. During the COVID time, we were able to get over this world pandemic because of innovation in technology, innovation in medical science, innovation in chips that we brought in, now bringing chips manufacturing into United States. So innovation is the key, and that's one of the reasons why America is the greatest country in the world. It is the immigrants, America's immigrant policies were so good that created these opportunities, land of opportunities. And as a result of our diversity, America is the greatest nation in the world. But sometimes, people forget that. And now the immigration system is broken, needs to be fixed. And that's one of the areas I'm working in United States Congress, because I have a first-hand experience of an immigrant, the challenges, the difficulties an immigrant faces in establishing a green card, establishing his visa status, because that also impacts his family, his children. And so that is one of the many areas I am focusing on.
Right.
Yeah.
I see that you worked on a bill to try to keep to facilitate and make it more easy for PhD students. If the companies, if the U.S. economy needs them, it will be easier for them to stay in the United States, and that is so great.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I think we need the skills, we need the engineers, we need the scientists, and America needs to continue to innovate and be the world leader in innovation and discoveries and stay at the forefront of high technology. That's what's going to create good paying American jobs. That's what is going to propel our GDP, and that's what is going to strengthen America's economy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And also one area, I think, by reading I think as the small business owners ourselves, we greatly appreciate your effort in making the entrepreneur more, make it easier for people to start entrepreneurship in the United States. Because coming from a background, experience the poverty firsthand yourself, what interested me is you believe in, say, in order to fill the gap between the education and the business and the opportunities, it's important to give people access to entrepreneurs. And I see that you actually started the bill called the one-stop shopping for the business licenses and all that.
Yes.
So can you share us why you think a small business and entrepreneurship is so important in our great nation?
Look, so after coming to America, I got my PhD. I worked as a chemist, and then I started a small business. That business grew to about 500 employees. So, my family is not a business family. I wanted to succeed. And there are many young people who want to be entrepreneur, but they don't know where to begin. Often, starting capital is a big problem. And, when in 1979, when I first came to this country, I wanted to open a bank account. And I went to a small bank in my neighborhood, and the bank officer told me, we don't like people like you open bank accounts in our bank.
Wow.
Huh.
And, and when I wanted to start my business, 6 banks turned me down when I wanted a small loan so I can purchase the equipment to start my business. Mm-hmm. So many of the people, especially, I represent the city of Detroit. My district is the 13th Congressional District. Grosse Pointe, Hamtramck, Highland Point, and downriver communities, Romulus, Taylor, Southgate, Island Park. But bulk of the biggest city in my district is Detroit, which is 78% African American. Now, the African American community has suffered systemic racism for decades, centuries. And what this racism has created is it's robbed the community of opportunities, economic opportunities. In Detroit, in the Paradise Valley, where there used to be a thriving entrepreneurial culture among Black business owners. And when that Highway 375 was built, it destroyed, in today's dollars, maybe hundreds of millions, maybe $1 billion worth of Black net worth in that process. And it never got restored. So you know about the Tulsa massacre and how Black wealth, Black businesses were destroyed in Tulsa. And the systemic racism lack of good education, especially in the low-income areas, has robbed people of opportunities. And one of the bill I introduced in the Michigan House when I was a state rep in the Michigan House was to promote entrepreneurship. Talk about entrepreneurship, give young people an option to be financially independent, start their own businesses. And to do that, you need not only you need capital, you need training in terms of business training, accounting. How do you start a business, writing a business plan? And these are some of the things I'm trying to bring into high schools, starting early, so that people understand how a business is run, how a business is started, and then ensuring that there is no discrimination. We need to really fight racism. We need to fight discrimination. And we are trying to write bills that will allow banks to put a lot of their capital, available capital, to provide loans to starting businesses. We have 504 loan to buy, the equipment, say, for example, and when my business started growing, I was able to take advantage of a 504 loan program that I purchased my business building. I was able to buy a much larger building than I needed because of this special Small Business Administration's loan program. And because I had that large building, my business grew much faster. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that people have access to the Small Business Administration's loans programs and grants and different training programs. We have a Small Business Administration office right here in downtown Detroit that people should go to and take advantage of it. But we are also trying to, one of my bill, the one that you mentioned, it streamlines the licensing process. Because the red tape, most people don't have the time or the skills to navigate through all this government red tape to take advantage of some of the programs. So we have allocated money, and sometimes the money doesn't get distributed to the people who need it, because between the money that Congress has allocated and the needs that people have in the community, there is a lot of red tape, a lot of paperwork to fill out. And an average person isn't able to navigate through that. That's the same situation when you're trying to get a federal contract. Small businesses trying to get a federal contract, they run through all of this red tape and all of this bureaucracy. So my bill will streamline some of this licensing. My bill would streamline and eliminate some of the red tape so that people are able to take advantage of these Small Business Administration grants and loans programs much more easily, much more easily. And we're also encouraging private banks to use a lot of their capital to provide loans to small businesses, because as you know, small businesses create most of the new jobs. 70% of the new jobs are created by small businesses. And we need to encourage that. We want to ensure that the Black and brown community doesn't stay behind and given the same opportunity to accessing capital, same opportunity to start businesses and create, generations of net worth for these individuals. I'm all for raising the minimum wage. Federal minimum wage is at $7.25, and that's not a living wage. Nobody can live on that wage in a dignified manner. And we need to raise the minimum wage But that alone isn't going to create generations of wealth in families. And my focus is to close this huge wealth gap between the people at the bottom of the economic ladder and people at the top. And a lot of the times only the people at the top are served, but the people at the bottom remain at the bottom because they don't have these opportunities. And if we can create access to entrepreneurship, if we can provide good quality of education, no matter what zip code the child lives, we will, through education. Look, in my case, it was because of education I was able to rise out of poverty. And we need to create those opportunities. And that's really what motivates me to be in public service, is that, I'm really drawing from my own life experiences, the times when, I didn't know where my next meal is going to come from. Having lived that, I know in my district today, there are people that are struggling. They're struggling to put food on the table. I know there are people in my district, seniors, who are trying to make a decision between heating their house or buying their prescription medicine. The COVID has exposed, so much inequity. We have seen how Detroit and some of the low-income areas were affected disproportionately during COVID. And having suffered through that in my own life, I'm acutely aware of the hardship people have. And that's what motivates me to be in public service. And I bring this sense of efficiency. As a business person, I have to make sure that I make the payroll every 2 weeks. I have to run an efficient business. Otherwise, my business will not survive. So I'm bringing this level of efficiency, this need to run things in a very efficient manner. I'm trying to bring that as I serve on the Small Business Committee in the United States Congress. I bring my entrepreneurial experience to my job as a congressman. I bring my experience as an immigrant to my job as a congressman to reform and improve our immigration system.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think we actually share some very similar background. And I echo what you said, that education changes lives. It certainly changed my life, changed the Charles' lives, and we admire your effort to solving this issue from all angles, right? It's called equal opportunity. And, equal opportunity to what? And that's what you worked on, equal opportunity to have access to not only the money, because, from my volunteer work in the higher education sector, I fully agree that just the equal opportunity access to money is a very small part of it. The access to the education at a younger age actually is crucial.
Yeah. It is absolutely crucial. And young people sometimes don't even see entrepreneurship as an opportunity, as a career option, because they haven't lived in a business family. Right. They haven't seen a good many role models in their own community. So one of the things tonight, actually, I'm participating where we will be giving out awards to African American success stories. We want to talk about success stories in each of the communities so that the communities and the young people can take inspiration from their success and be able to dream big and achieve their big dreams through hard work and some helping hand from the government.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask about that, Congressman Shri, because for me, this past summer, I got to spend a lot of time with Charles and Lynn. And as I mentioned in previous episodes, they were role models for me to see what you can achieve with entrepreneurship and ultimately chasing that American dream. And like you mentioned, that American dream is made up of entrepreneurship, the importance of education. What were some of your role models when you eventually chose to pursue endeavors like a small business or ultimately now public service? And what are some future goals for you as someone who is trying to follow in those footsteps?
Well, you know, I grew up admiring President Abraham Lincoln. Mm-hmm. Lincoln's life is really amazing. And, you know, the things that I learned from his life is despite, you know, his struggles, despite his failures, so many failures in public life, in his, whether he losing elections, or so much sadness in his own personal life, having loss of loved ones. And he just had this passion to make a difference and make a difference in people's lives. Certainly Abraham Lincoln, but Mahatma Gandhi, in fact, today happens to be the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Yes. And Gandhi's teachings are about nonviolence, about peaceful protest. You know, he is somebody that fought for the weaker segments of society, people at the bottom of the economic ladder. He fought against injustice. He fought against racism. And another of my heroes is certainly Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King actually called Gandhi as his mentor and as his hero. And again, the struggles that Dr. King, did for the community, African-American community, the injustice, how he fought for racial equity, and ultimately, unfortunately, lost his own life. But that passion of Dr. King, the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, and the perseverance, the struggle of Abraham Lincoln, all of these role models help me, understand. And it wasn't easy. When my children were 4 and 8 years old, I lost their mother and my first wife to mental illness. And I raised my children as a single father for many years before I got remarried. And today I see our society has huge mental health issues, mental health problems. And one of the things I'm working in Washington, D.C. is to have a more of a universal health care. I believe that every person, regardless of his or her income level, regardless of his or her employment level, must have access to good health care. I believe health care is a fundamental human right, and that we must work to provide that. We are the only developed nation in the world that doesn't have universal health care. And today, more than 20 million Americans are without health care. And I don't think anybody should have to worry if they will go bankrupt if they have a major health crisis. And so one of my goals is to have a single payer healthcare system that is not tied to employment, that is accessible to every American.
Need to be more efficient, that's for sure. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that's why also I think your background as the entrepreneur greatly helps as well, because we're all about efficiency.
Efficiency, yeah. Okay. So Shri, you and I, we know each other almost 10 years. I still remember you run a business, a successful business, doing so well. And I have a question for you. Now, for financial independence, of course, you become financial independence. This is all public information, so I can using it. And because through entrepreneurship and things, but you're willing to using your own money and to funding for this campaign and help public. What's your motivation, the driven at that time? You know, from a successful entrepreneur, you can just enjoy your vacation every day. You know, lay on the beach, right? Buy a beautiful beach home, but talk your own money. And I remember when you run a campaign, you don't even take any money from any other people, right? So you're running this campaign, try to help public. So tell me about it.
Now instead of laying by the beach, you took a 7 o'clock early flight.
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. So
no, Charles, that's a very good question. And as you know, I started my business in 1990. At the time, the revenues were only $150,000 a year. And then the revenues went up. By year 2008, my revenues were $65 million.
Wow.
500 employees. EBITDA of about 14 million EBITDA.
Wow.
And my company at the time was worth about $200 million.
Wow.
Impressive.
A company that I started with a $75,000 loan from a bank.
Wow.
And $3,000 from my credit card. And unfortunately, though, this company, what it did was it did early stage drug development. And so 90% of what I did was developing new medicine, innovating new technology, new medicine. As small startup companies would come to my business who did not have the infrastructure to develop these businesses or this technology, and I would develop that for them and give them a turnkey process so they can go and make that drug and manufacture it. But in the recession, as the economy tanked in the 2008 recession, early stage drug development dried up. Nobody wanted to invest in early stage research. And I lost 70% of my revenue. And just a week before the Lehman Brothers collapsed, I had gotten an offer from a private equity to buy my business for $135 million, half of my business for $135 million. That never happened. That never closed. And the bank from whom I had borrowed money later to acquire many different companies became impatient, and they put a receiver, and I lost that business. Oh. And as the bank took over, the last day they gave me a box and says, Mr. Thanedar, if you want to take your personal belongings, feel free to take. So I'm putting my children's pictures from my desk into this box, and I'm walking out of the business that I built with so much hard work. For the last time, I'm leaving that business, and I see these 2 awards that I had won. Entrepreneur of the Year award from Ernst & Young. So I asked the bank person if I can take those with me, and he said, sure. So I put these awards in my box, and I said, someday I'm going to win a 3rd award like this. I come home and I learned that our home is going to be foreclosed also, because as a small business owner, everything is cross-collateralized. So I lost my cars, I lost my home, I lost my business in that recession. My wife and I put our personal thing in a budget rental car, and we drove all night from St. Louis, Missouri to Ann Arbor, Michigan, because I learned that in Ann Arbor, Michigan, there was a lab that had gone out of business, and the landlord was looking to rent that space to a new business. So I come to Ann Arbor in 2010. I restart my business, and by 2016, I won my 3rd award, Entrepreneur of the Year, from Ernst & Young.
Incredible.
And at that time, Charles, I felt, there has to be more to my life. I came to this country with $20 in my pocket. this country has given me so much. America has given me so much. And as I travel, I see people don't have access to their American dream, even though I was able to achieve my American dream. Many people don't have access to their American dream. And I felt at that time that growing my business and making more money and more money isn't really going to be what my life is about. I felt I need to go help others. And with that thought, I sold my business, took some of the money that came out of that, and distributed to all of my employees, not just the COOs and not just the treasurer and the CFO. I gave the money to all employees. I always profit shared with my employees. And then I said, if I can, I want to run this state in the most efficient way. And I decided to run for governor of Michigan. And since nobody knew me, I used my own money to run for governor. I used a big chunk of my net worth for that election. And a lot of times, politicians first they're activists, then they run for political office. And sometimes after that, they became successful and financially successful. In my case, I was already financially successful, and I used my own money to get into politics. Now I'm in politics, and my net worth is not what it used to be. It's almost half or less than half. But, I feel good that I have these opportunities to serve people. And now I have become an activist for better education, an activist for racial equity. I'm become an activist for clean air and clean water. In parts of Detroit, we see a lot of environmental racism. Where poor people live, there is a lot of pollution and a lot of health issues because of the environmental pollution in that area. So mine is almost a reverse trend, from a very successful business person. Now I'm become a community activist, trying to transform communities, trying to bring justice to the communities, fighting for social and economic equity, fighting for racial equity. And so that is really what my focus has been. So even though I lost that governor's race, I said, I am not going to go back to business. I'm going to stay in public service. And fortunately, there was a position opened up as a state representative in the Michigan House of Representatives. I ran for that election. I won it. And now a congressional seat opened up. And here I am in the United States Congress, an immigrant who came to the United States at the age of 24 with nothing. What a great country America is. And I'm so grateful for the people of my district, people of Detroit, who gave me this opportunity to serve them.
Wow, it's an amazing story.
I'm already looking forward. You have to send me a text one day. You're starting, your bio got published, because I got to get the first copy, because what a story that you have. And,
I wrote a book, and it's not current, but I wrote a book in 2008, and I believe people can download a free PDF of that at my website, shriforcongress.com, SHRI for Congress.com, and people can download a free copy of that book. It's called The Blue Suitcase.
The Blue Suitcase. I love the title. I will go get that book. And I fully agree with you that I never thought, I'm a firm believer that politics, public service is not a career that you should get rich after becoming a public servant.
Right.
So, and nowadays a lot of people do, but in your case, you actually got your net worth shrink to be a public servant. And that, in my opinion, is the way to go. I admire people like you. So now I'm going to change the tone to a question. Basically, we ask to all the guests to our podcast, obviously, you are incredibly, exceptionally smart and financial savvy. So what do you look for in someone, in advisor that help you to take the load off your managing of your personal finance?
Well, people who are very busy in their careers look, we are not experts in everything. We may be very good at running a factory. I may be very good at running a manufacturing plant. Or a person may be a good doctor, an eye surgeon or a throat surgeon. That doesn't mean that that person is an expert in investments. And I think a lot of times some people make mistake that they want to make their own investment decisions. But it is always, what I've learned over the years is that it's always good to have a professional trained and who can full-time watch and look at investments and make good decisions. So it is important that these decisions are not made by the successful people, even though they're smart and they're wise and they're very good at what they do. It's just as important that they leave those decisions to professionals for their own good.
Thank you. Those are just music to my ears. You have any more questions, Charles, for Congressman Shri?
I think you have some questions too, right?
Yes. So I wanted to follow up on the previous question about the journey that Congressman Thanedar has had so far. It's been incredible, and getting to hear him speak with such passion about topics like healthcare, topics like financial security, and ultimately allowing more citizens to pursue the American dream is very inspiring. And Lynn, you spoke of Congressman Thanedar like writing a book, but from what I've heard so far, I feel like that story is probably not over just yet. So Congressman, I wanted to ask, looking forward for the next 5 to 10 years, what are some things that you would like to see change in this country? And what are some of the initiatives you will continue to fight for the 13th District of Michigan?
I want to focus on improving the quality of life for every American. I want to focus on not the wealthy and the rich as much as focus on the people at the bottom of the economic ladder. People that are struggling. We still have, in a country as rich as ours, we still have so many issues with homelessness. A country as rich as ours, we have issues where people don't have access to health care. We see our veterans, many of them homeless. We see veterans who gave their life or gave their families who suffered through and did so much to keep our nation at peace, don't have access to the services that they need. And the wealth gap continues to grow. The wealth gap continues to grow. And I want an economy that lifts people from the bottom up. And we can do that through good education, providing access to good health care, and creating opportunities. I'm a big believer that we need to give people skills for tomorrow's jobs, with mobility, the electric vehicles, the newer technologies, technologies like the artificial intelligence. These technologies need to not just serve the privileged, but this also need to serve the ordinary people. And these technologies need to make ordinary people's lives better. And my focus over the next several years is going to be, how does, government provide a helping hand, not just a handout, but a helping hand to help help themselves, because most people don't want a handout. Most people want to do good for themselves. They want to get good education. They want opportunities. They want a level playing field. And that's what we are missing because of the racism. We are missing a component in our societies of that we don't have access to opportunities for all. We don't have a level playing field for average person to be able to succeed. And I want people to get the good skills so that they can get good paying jobs. I want young people to be encouraged to be entrepreneurs, innovators, to continue this country's tradition of innovation. So my focus is going to be economic development. My focus is going to be creating jobs in America. And my focus is going to be an immigration system that's fair and that promotes innovation, an immigration system that helps America's businesses grow even at a faster pace than what they are doing now.
Well, Congressman Shri, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule today and to speak with us. I think it was a very inspiring last hour and will really resonate with our audience with the Zhang Financial Podcast. Again, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
great talking
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Yeah, for everything you do. Thank you.
And I wish success in Washington.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And do help me. Do help my campaign, and you can see my campaign site at Shri Thanedar or shriforcongress.com.
Thanks for tuning in to the Zhang Financial Podcast. If you liked what you saw or have any specific feedback, please be sure to like, subscribe to our channel, and leave those comments down below. Thanks for tuning in again, and we'll see you next time.